Welcome to online tutorial 8. So I was going to make this one very specifically about your presentation on Saturday, and we will get to that, okay? But I just wanted to sort of take the opportunity to catch up on a few questions and concerns that have been coming through my way in relation to the interim learning report. And so let's just let me just update you with a few concerns that I've been getting. So I've been getting a few scenarios where people are sort of saying, well, the group hasn't been functioning particularly well, or we haven't been able to reach a lot of agreement within the context of the group's discussions. It doesn't really matter if that's happened, okay? It's not the end of the world, all right? The main thing is that you've got this piece of theory and you've got an experience that you've had, good, bad, otherwise, and you've got this thing up here called a presentation that you guys are going to do, all right? And we'll talk about that in a minute. What I'm looking for you to do is to demonstrate your understanding of this theory relative to you having tried to make sense of this idea that you guys have been playing with in your group context, okay? So you might want to tell me that while everyone else in the group thinks that this is the case, that socio-political legitimacy is the key issue here, you actually see it differently, right? So tell me why. Use the theory to tell me why. So you've got 1,000 words to play with in your section 1. So use the theory concisely. Use the theory to tell me why. So if you just talk around it, I'm just thinking, okay, you've given me something that's half logical and you get a half logical mark, all right? But if you use the theoretical concepts, right, if you use those to tell me why there's a logic to your thinking, then I'll be impressed, okay? Because when you start saying, you know, from the way I look at it, the real key issue here, it's all about our ability to use our social and human capital to get this socio-political legitimacy from these particular people who are so influential in society. And when we do that, it's going to increase our cognitive legitimacy because X, Y, and Z. When you're writing like that, so that when I read a sentence and you're constantly putting in the key concepts all the way through, that's when you're at your most vulnerable to me, and that's when you're most likely to be able to convince me that you understand the theory because you're using it to link up your thinking in your statements, okay? So you don't have to agree with everyone in your group, all right? In fact, I wouldn't expect you to, all right? Because by now the groups will have started to fall apart in some areas, coordination, different areas of interest that have really come to the surface, and all of those other types of issues, personality, those sorts of things, okay? So don't panic about that. Just seek comfort in the theoretical concepts that were in the pre-test and use them to make the case why you believe your idea has got legs, or why you think your idea is no good. You might also want to tell me why you think your idea is terrible, okay? Because it's actually easier to make that case than it is to make the case that it's great, all right? Much easier to tell me why your idea is not going to work than why you think it will work, all right? So that's that, okay? So you use your referencing, yes, but you don't have to go crazy with the referencing. I'm not counting references. Just when you use those concepts the first time in your paper, maybe you want to tell me it was Aldridge, you want to tell me it was Falstad and Stable and Falstad, whoever the authors are, and then just you can use it thereafter without having to worry about referencing. It's not the end of the world, okay? The key thing I'm looking for you to do is that you understand the theoretical concepts, right? Your initial referencing will just tell me you know where they came from, okay? Because you've been in the readings, all right? So if you haven't been in the readings, this would be a very hard section to do, all right? The readings are very important. Let's move on to a quick update on section 2, all right? So I'm still getting questions about the use of why, all right? So this thing here, this why, that should be at least 4, but hopefully 5 of these things will be in each of your paragraphs, right? For the 7 supporting questions, all right? Look at the example, that's on Blackboard, right? I've got a couple of examples there, all right? So if you go into assessments, interim learning report, you'll see all the resources, and there's Cold Reflex again. That's exactly what I would expect to see. I'm not putting the why in there to try and say something to you that doesn't. That's exactly how it should look. When I read your work, I should see the why, whether it's red or black, doesn't matter, but the why should be sitting in there, whether it's the word why or the letter Y. There should be 5 of them in each paragraph as you go from one question to the next to the next. Don't think, oh, it looks messy, I'm going to use it, then take it out. I want it in there because I want to know when you actually asked yourself, why? Why does that matter? Why is that important? Right? You're helping me to see inside, all right? I want to hear you, okay? I want to hear you questioning yourself. It's a process of reflection. We're not just trying to get you to accumulate a whole bunch of thoughts and gather them up. I want you to pull them apart. One Y pulls it this far, another Y pulls it that one, another one pulls it that way, until you get that vertical movement going down. Not going sideways. We don't want the horizontal Y. If I've just confused you, then you need to go back and watch the video on using the steps model, all right? Because we want the Y to go vertical, all right? Now, your presentation. It's a 1-minute presentation. Guys, when I ask you for a 1-minute presentation, that's not a 2-minute presentation. It's a 1-minute presentation, okay? So we're going to have a little bell there, and when your bell goes, bang, that's it, you're done. All right? You've only got to tell me 3 things. Assuming it's a CPS and not a COS, and I'll explain that in a second. Who is this customer that has a problem, and what is your solution? That's it. That's it. All right? You did the heavy work and the lifting the night before when you submitted your assignment, okay? And you explained it all to me using the theory. Share your thinking with the group in terms of the perception you hold in relation to an end user, a customer, a problem you believe they have, and a solution that you think could be doable. That's it. Some of your presentations will take 20 seconds because they're that simple, all right? Don't tie yourself up in knots. Remember, you're not being assessed for this. I'm just going to give you some basic feedback. With a piece of pen, I'm going to write down something on a piece of paper in that 1 minute and give you that piece of paper back to you, okay? And that'll give you something else to go off and do when you're getting ready for the final learning report that you'll again do as individuals, okay? So keep it short and keep it sharp. Now, I have talked a little bit about this notion of the cause, right? Because your idea might not really be related to a problem in society. It might be something that's more related to an opportunity that you perceive, all right? So in that case, it's very simple. You're just simply, when you're writing section 1 of your report, you just simply say, here's our COS statement, C-O-S, right? Customer, opportunity, solution. COS or CPS, it doesn't matter, all right? Now, it's important to realise that all your work's going through Turnitin. Don't copy someone's work. You don't need to go there. You don't need to take me there, all right? Because if the machine says you've submitted the same work essentially as someone else, or you've made a couple of little changes, I'm not really in this space because I always ask people to do very individual work. But I saw an example this week which really upset me where somebody had simply copied someone's work and they just changed this word and this word and this word and this word, assuming that it wouldn't get caught. And of course, it did get caught, right? And my colleagues were looking at it and they were saying, this is ridiculous. Someone's taken 20 words out of one whole page and they've just tried to change it around to make it look like it's different. The machine does it, guys. It picks up when you're writing the same work as someone else. So don't do it. Hand me in your work. It's 1,000 words that's just yours. Your reflections will clearly be yours. It's impossible for you to write reflections that are someone else's. Okay? If you've reflected using Y, it's going to be about you, and you are all individual. All right? Back yourself to follow the process. Trust the process. If you follow the process, and you can come and see me during the week, you can contact me, you can ring me, whatever you want if you're unsure. I've had a few people asking me, could you proofread, or not proofread, could you, you know, look at a draft of my work? No, I can't. I can't look at a draft of your work. I've had a few people where I've said I'm happy to look at the structure, but I'm not going to comment on what you've said. All right? Do the maths, guys. If I took 5 to 10 minutes to look at everyone's draft, and there's 350 students in the class, it'd take me roughly 2 weeks. Roughly 2 weeks just to be able to look at that. All right? So it's inequitable, very inequitable, for me to look through someone's draft and not look through someone else's draft. I'm happy to look at it and say, nah, that's not the way the process of reflection is supposed to go. Process, okay? Not, I don't think you've reflected on the right things. That's not, I'm not going into that space, all right? So keep that in mind, all right? Other than that, I'm looking forward to seeing you guys on Saturday. The second one's always fun. Let's make the presentation short, sharp, snappy, and then we can move on to the next little component that we're going to deal with, and then we can have you guys getting off and enjoying the rest of your Saturday. So I'm looking forward to seeing you guys. Don't forget, there's obviously the catch-up class, which I'll send out emails for the Monday morning at 9 AM to 11 AM. Any queries, any questions, just come and have a chat. Short, sharp, concise presentation, somewhere between 20 seconds and a minute. Who's your customer or end user? What do you think their problem is? What do you think the solution is that you guys could put forward? That's it. All right? Other than if it's an opportunity rather than a problem. Okay? Good luck.